The kind of quiet only people who live by the water understand. The tide was low, the ropes were soft with salt, and the air carried that faint metallic scent of boats waking up after a long night. I had just stepped out of my office above dock, when a noise shattered the stillness. Metal groaning, with splintering, and in a sound like a dying whale being dragged across rocks. I knew that sound. It was the sound of a hull being crushed. My hull. My yacht. I didn't rush. I didn't run. I walked the length of the dock, every step slow, deliberate, controlled, because anger is a tide of its own, and if you let it rise too fast, it drags you under. When I reached the end of Dock B, I saw the reason behind the devastation. A bright yellow HOA barge, 3 idiots on deck, 2 cranes, chains wrapped around my yacht like a beast being hauled to slaughter. One of them was shouting orders as if he had any authority over me. Another cheer when the crane arm dipped too low and punched a crater into the side of the boat. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. The woman behind it all was already marching toward me. Neon vest, clipboard in hand, heels that didn't belong anywhere near a dock. Marla, HOA president, self-proclaimed guardian of order, a tyrant wrapped in cheap perfume. There you are, she said, as if I kept her waiting. You've ignored our final notices. Per HOA policy, unpaid fees grant us authority to seize and liquidate non-essential property. And since you refused to comply, we escalated enforcement. I stared at her for a long moment, letting her own words echo back at her. You smashed my yacht. Correction, she said, tapping her clipboard. We're relocating it for auction. The damage was an unfortunate side effect of non-compliance. Behind her, the cranes groaned again as the bows snapped completely, the white fiberglass splitting open like a cracked egg. Heat rose behind my ears, but outwardly I remained still. She mistook my calm for defeat. People like her always do. You should have paid your fees, she added smugly. It's really that simple. $2 million, I said softly, watching the ruins of my boat dip closer to the water. You destroyed a $2 million yacht. Over a $1,500 HOA claim. Rules are rules, she said, shrugging. If we let one person ignore them, the whole system falls apart. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because she had no idea who she was talking to. She thought I was a resident, a boat owner, a man with a slip rental and overdue fines. She thought the Marina belonged to her jurisdiction, her committee, her little empire of laminated policies. But the Marina belonged to me, not the boat slips, not the buildings, not the docks, the entire Marina, every piling, every pier, every lock and gate, the whole damn shoreline. I bought it 8 years ago for reasons personal enough that I kept my name off everything public. The residents saw management staff. They saw a maintenance crew. They saw me walking around with coffee and assumed I was just another guy who lived here. I preferred it that way. Quiet ownership is clean. No power struggles. No politics. No one trying to kiss your ring. Until Marla arrived. She took over the HOA like a queen seizing a kingdom, rewriting rules, issuing fines, bullying her way into every corner she could reach. The Marina, she thought, was another extension of her power. She didn't check the land records, because people like her don't check facts. They assume the world matches a picture in their heads. And in her head, I was nobody. I let her speak for another minute. Let her lecture me about what happens when people don't respect authority. Let her talk about the importance of maintaining community standards. Let her explain how she had personally approved the boat relocation operation because she believed in decisive action. And when she finally stopped to inhale, I asked, "Done?" "For now," she said with a smug smile. "Great," I replied. "My turn." I pulled my phone out and called a number I rarely use outside emergencies. 1 ring. 2. Then a calm voice answered, "Marina Operations." "It's me," I said. "Shut it down." The voice didn't ask which part. He knew what I meant. All of it. Across the Marina, something changed. A ripple of movement. The workers, my workers, stopped what they were doing. Engines cut. Gates locked. Radios crackled to life. The HOA barge's rented crane operator glanced around at the sudden shift in tone. Even the air felt different, sharper. Marla frowned. "What did you just do?" I didn't answer. I walked past her and waved the operations chief over. "Dock and barge logs," I said. He handed me a tablet. On the screen were timestamps, entry logs, video captures, damage reports, everything documented. "Send copies to the sheriff," I said, "and insurance, and legal, all of it. Right away." Marla's face paled. You can't do that. This is an HOA matter." "No," I said, turning back to her. "This is a criminal matter. Vandalism, destruction of private property, unauthorized use of industrial equipment on a commercial dock, navigational hazard. You wanted to keep listing?" "That yacht was on HOA property," she snapped. "No," I said, stepping closer. "It was on my property." She blinked. "You're what?" "Marina," I repeated quietly. "I own the marina." Her mouth opened, closed, open again. She couldn't process it. Her brain searched for footing and found none. No, there must be some mistake. The HOA has jurisdiction over the houses," I said. "The sidewalks, the neighborhood green, but everything from the shoreline to 200 feet offshore, mine." "That can't be," she whispered. "Check the county records," I said. "Or better yet, wait for the sheriff. They'll bring copies." She didn't move. She didn't breathe. She looked like a statue carved out of disbelief. The cranes had stopped working. The workers were stepping away from the barge. The firefighters, already called earlier by residents after the impact, were now securing the area. Nobody looked at her. Everyone was looking at me. For the first time, Marla realized she wasn't in control. She tried to salvage her pride. "You can't press charges. We were enforcing policy." "No," I said. "You were trespassing on commercial property, causing structural damage, and destroying assets belonging to a private owner. That isn't enforcement. That's stupidity." "You're bluffing," she said, but her voice cracked. I tapped the tablet screen, showing her a zoomed-in frame, her signature on an unauthorized entry order, her face drained of color. The sheriff's SUVs pulled up minutes later, lights quiet but presence heavy. Marla rushed toward them, waving her clipboard like a shield, but the deputies didn't look at her. They walked toward me. "Morning," the lead deputy said. "We got your report." "Thanks for coming," I said. "Everything's documented. The barge, the damage, the unauthorized equipment, her approvals." Marla spun, panicked. "He can't do this. He hasn't paid HOA fees in months." The deputy looked at me. "That true?" "No," I said. "I don't pay HOA fees." "Why not?" he asked. "Because I don't live under the HOA," I replied. "I own the marina." The moment the deputy understood, he turned to Marla, and his entire posture changed. "Ma'am," he said, "you and your team need to step aside." "You can't do this," she shouted again. "You destroyed a $2 million vessel," he said. "We absolutely can." Her clipboard dropped to the ground. One of her board members stepped back. Another muttered something about resigning. The crane operator, who had been watching the scene unfold, unplugged the controls and walked away like a man refusing to be part of a sinking ship. Hours later, after statements were taken, evidence logged, and the HOA barge impounded, the sheriff pulled me aside. "You pressing full charges?" he asked. "Yes," I said, "and filing civil claims, and seeking restitution. Every cent." He nodded. "Can't blame you." When he left, the sun had begun to set. The wreck of my yacht still rested on the water, broken but not sunk. I stood there for a long moment, feeling the weight of the day settle. Then I heard footsteps. Marla. Her voice was small now, brittle. "You could have warned us." "I did," I said. "Every time I ignored your letters, that was the warning." "I didn't know," she whispered. "You didn't check." I corrected. "And that's worse." She looked at the ground like a child caught stealing. "What happens now?" she asked. "You get removed from the board." I said, "The HOA gets sued." and I rebuild what you destroyed." She swallowed hard, unable to argue. I started walking away, but before I reached the steps to my office, I turned back. "Oh, and Marla?" She looked up. "If you ever set foot on my docks again without permission..." She nodded quickly. "I won't." "Good." The wind shifted, carrying the smell of the sea and burning fiberglass. Somewhere in the distance, gulls shrieked like they were laughing at the whole damn mess. My yacht was ruined. My Marina wasn't. And Marlo learned the one lesson every HOA tyrant eventually learns. You don't wage war on a man who owns a battlefield.